When I think of a Titan, I think of this brave, ruthless and aggressive class that loves being in enemies' faces while obliterating them and being very tanky at the same time. Now this is what I'm bringing you today, a Titan build that not only will make you borderline immortal, but will also allow you to ruthlessly slay your enemies with your hammer. Here is a side-to-side comparison of how long it takes me to kill the mini-boss from the most recent event with this build compared to a Galahorn. 3 hammers and he's gone. On the other hand, we need to use 7 Galahorn shots to be able to kill him. When I say immortal, I actually mean it. Here is a side-to-side comparison. Master Nightfall on the left side, in which I am 25 power levels below recommended, meaning I'm taking a whooping 120% more damage than I should be. Now that's more than double. On the right side we have a Legend Nightfall and I'm exactly at the recommended level, which is 1560, meaning I'm taking no extra damage, and as you can see I can stand here all day long. We are going to achieve this by using Classy Restoration, which provides us with a 10-second healing buff whenever we use our barricade. The beauty about this buff is that it renews itself every time we pass through a sunspot that we create with our hammer, for example. Meaning as long as you keep getting kills and making sunspot, this buff will always stay on you and you won't have to place another barricade again. We combine this with Well of Life, which does stack with Classy Restoration and will be active every time you pick up a solar well, in this case created by Melee Wellmaker. Now, to top this off, we are using the new resilience changes that happened this season for that nice 40% damage reduction. Combine this with the 25% reduction from Striking Light and the damage reduction from our chest resistant mods, and you will become the ultimate living tank that throws nukes that also happen to give you insane healing. I'm going to give you my 2 recommendations when it comes to exotics that will fit this build perfectly. You are going to be using the Synthoceps 99% of the time, as they are very consistent and the buff they provide is very strong. For the other 1% we are going to be using Wormgod Caress, and this will be only in very specific boss encounters that have adds close to them, allowing you to stack up the buff and deal some insane damage to the boss. How the Synthoceps work is that whenever you come close to at least 3 enemies, you're going to get the Bionic Enhancement buff for 8 seconds, meaning you'll be doing 200% more damage with your melee and 50% more damage with your super for the duration of the buff. This combined with Roaring Flames that also provides a stacking buff to your melee, as well as Tractor Cannon providing a 30% debuff to your enemies for 10 seconds, will make you the most fearsome Titan in the game. Stat-wise, you already know that we are going to be prioritizing resilience for that nice 40% damage reduction that it provides, as well as recovery, and then you can put your points into discipline. The reason why we are not running strength is because we have a mod that gives us our full melee back whenever we finish an enemy. Roaring Flames is the first aspect that we are going to be using. Every time we get a final blow with a solar ability or ignition, it increases the damage of our solar abilities and it stacks up to 3 times. The second aspect is going to be Sol Invictus, and it basically is going to be creating sunspots every time we defeat a target with a solar ability. These sunspots not only apply scorching to your enemies, but also give you restoration times 1, and they can also renew your restoration times 2 that comes from the artifact mod. Fragment wise, we are going to be using Ember of Torches, which provides you and your allies the radiant buff whenever you hit a target with your throwing hammer. That radiant buff is basically a 25% damage boost to all your weapons. Next up we have Ember of Solace, which extends the duration of radiant and restoration buffs applied on us. This is a must because it's going to increase the duration of restoration up to a maximum of 10 seconds. Then we are using Ember of Wonders simply for the 10 resilience that it provides, as well as Ember of Searing, also for the 10 recovery that it provides. For our helmet we are going to be using Striking Light, but mainly for the secondary perk that it provides, which gives you a 25% damage reduction whenever you're sprinting. This allows you to be even tankier. Now if you don't have space in your helmet, then feel free to slot this into your leg armor instead. This combined with a hands-on mod is going to help you get your super much faster. As mentioned before, we are going to be using the Synthoceps. Now we are going to be using them with the Elemental Time Dilation, which is going to give our Well of Life a total duration of 13 seconds. I'm using this with a grenade launcher loader, however if you're facing any champions then feel free to put in the champion mods. Now as you can see, for our chest we are keeping it neutral, and that is because whenever you're going into an activity you always want to adapt your mods depending on the element that your enemies are using. We are going to be slotting Melee Well Maker in our chest piece. This is going to be creating solar wells whenever we get kills with our throwing hammer. For our boots, we are going to be using Well of Life. Now this is going to be giving you that nice constant healing, which does stack with the restoration buff, making you almost unkillable. Pair this up with a scavenger of your choice, and then a recuperation mod just to give us that extra healing. And finally, for our class item, we are going to be using Reactive Pulse. Now once again, we are mainly using this for the secondary perk, which gives you a very nice overshield whenever you perform your finisher. Now this comes very clutch in harder content when you're finishing someone while being surrounded by multiple enemies. Feel free to swap this around for Seeking Wells or Radiant Light. One of the most important mods that we are going to be using in this build is Classy Restoration, which is going to be giving you the restoration ×2 buff whenever we put down our barricade. And this being also a very important mod for this build, because if you happen to lose your hammer, this is going to give it to you back instantly as long as you go ahead and finish a random enemy. Weapon wise, we are definitely going to be sticking with that tractor cannon, which became 10 times better this season because there's less and less people playing Void, which means there's less and less debuffs applied to your enemies. So you are going to be providing that nice 30% debuff to enemies, and your team is going to love you for it. This is not only good for your team, but this is also very good as a solo player, because it's going to allow your hammer to deal that 30% more damage. Now I like to combine this with an add clear weapon in my energy slot. Now I have a stats 4 and 1 for forbearance. I do recommend getting a forbearance with chain reaction, as this weapon is an absolute beast when it comes to add clear. Now I don't have chain reaction on it simply because I haven't farmed it yet. When facing champions and you need 2 weapons to stun them, then just feel free to swap these around accordingly to the champions that you're facing. All that this gameplay revolves around is you popping your barricade to start classy restoration, and then nuking enemies with your hammer to create sunspots that will prolong the duration of the heal, as well as making solar wells that will give you that Well of Life buff, providing you with even more healing. To top this off, you are combining multiple resistances like Resilience, Striking Light and Chest Armor resistant mods to make you even tougher than you already are. I don't know about you guys, but I don't see myself taking this build off for the entire season. I will be using it in any activity, let it be solo or with a group. I will even take it into Grandmasters. And that's it for the video, guys. Remember to join my awesome Discord community, as you'll find all the builds as well as dim links and info in one single channel. I also do frequent giveaways, so make sure to join those. Once again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.